1 milligram, because again, you're taking in extra nicotine, but that's all that you're doing is taking in a little extra nicotine. It's not the idea, but I just like people to know they're not going to die if they do slip up and do that. All right. So then there are the two FDA-approved medications that are the pills, and those are explained in here. So it's a lot of reading, but if you're considering quitting and you want to use some nicotine replacement, please read this and then talk to your doctor about which one would be best for you to use. Chantix is probably one of the most popular pills that people will use. There are some side effects with that. It is medication, so any pills we take, you do have the risk of side effects. And one, has anybody heard of side effects?
Depression.
So maybe depression. The one I've heard the most on is night terrors. So I've heard people have crazy dreams, right? So again, you want to make sure if you take them, you obviously need a prescription anyway. Talk to your doctor. Make sure you stay in contact with your doctor if you do decide to use one of the pill forms. Okay? All right. We move on here because I don't want to keep you guys too long. All right. So what are some ways that you can change your smoking habits? We only talked about 2 of these tips on how to quit, right? There's tips on here if stimulation is your reason for smoking, what caused you to smoke, if stress is, if habit is. A lot of times it's habit. When I start talking to people about changing their smoking habits, that's when they can really start to cut down with smoking. So what are some ways to change smoking habits? Someone tell me what one of your smoking habits are. What's one of your smoking habits? That would be like maybe you smoke, the first thing you do in the morning is you have a habit that you light a cigarette, the first thing that you do. Anybody have that habit?
When I drink.
So when you drink, okay, so when you drink you have a cigarette.
In the mornings when I drink coffee.
Coffee and cigarettes, that's a big habit people have. They kind of put them hand in hand. Any other habits? Do you have a habit that on your break or on your lunch you go out and have a cigarette then?
Peer pressure.
In a car, that's a habit when people drive in cars. Peer pressure when you're out with other people smoking. So a lot of these things are triggers that you can create habits around.
Do you ever smoke?
I did.
Did you?
I did, yeah. So I was never a pack-a-day smoker. I started when I was younger as a social smoker. Now, could I smoke a pack in a night out drinking? Yes, I could. You know, but generally it was buy a pack, smoke probably at least half a pack when I was out drinking, and then just have a couple cigarettes a day until the pack was gone, not buy them again until I was going to go out again.
Well.
Right. So I never really became totally addicted to where I was smoking a pack a day. Then I got married to my first husband, and I quit smoking because he was a non-smoker. And I don't really remember that quit so much, but again, I was at that point I was really only smoking when I would go out drinking, and I wasn't drinking more than once or twice in a month, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But so I did quit when I got married. When I got divorced, I went back to smoking. And my thought was, no one can tell me what I can do anymore. I'm going to do this. This is something I missed. He told me I couldn't. Now I got rid of him, so now I'm going to do what I want to do. And I didn't really think about the effect of cigarettes. I was actually a personal trainer at the time when I went back to smoking, so you would think I would be into health and wellness. But then I started with Allegiant, and that was when I decided that, you know what, I can't do this. I'm teaching people about health and wellness, and here I was what you would call a closet smoker when I first started first started working with Allegiant. Again, it was when I had my kids. I had my kids every other week. When I had my kids, I didn't smoke. When I didn't have my kids, I would smoke 2 or 3 cigarettes a day. It wasn't a lot, but morning with coffee, right before I would go to bed at night, and if I went out with friends and had a drink, I might have one. But that's when I actually quit, was after I started with Allegiant. I quit altogether. I do remember that quit. I remember buying 2 packs of cigarettes and saying, this is going to be it, because I had for about 3 months convinced myself I was going to quit, and I would finish the pack and then I would not go back to it. But then I would go back and buy another one and just get one more pack. And that went on for several months. And then I can remember one day, I got invited to go to one of our other clients, so this is going back probably now about a little over 5 years. One of our other clients wanted to come to a smoke-free campus meeting. And I had my cigarette that morning. I went to a smoke-free campus meeting. And I was like, man, you are such a hypocrite. You have got to do, you've been saying for months now, you're going to quit altogether. Just quit altogether. So I went home. I crushed up one of the packs of cigarettes that I had. I had 2 packs at that time. And I crushed up one of the packs that I had. And I was like, I'll just store this other one just in case. And that next day, I remember running, I was a closet smoker, so I would literally go outside my basement door and stand in the basement hallway. I didn't want my neighbors, friends, no one to know that I was smoking even those couple cigarettes. Because I was a wellness coordinator now. I had been a wellness coordinator for about 6 months. And so I remember going down outside and I was running late and I had this cigarette and I ran up the steps and I got really, really dizzy. And I was like, all right, this is ridiculous. You do not need this. And I broke up that next pack and that was it. I haven't had a cigarette since. Was it hard? Yes. And I can only imagine someone that's smoking packs a day, what they would feel like, right? Because I can still watch a movie and see someone having a cigarette and I can't smell it. If I smell it, it kind of, it doesn't smell good to me. So that doesn't, like if I'm right next to someone and they're smoking, that doesn't really make me want one because the smell I'm not attracted to. But seeing it on TV, you don't have the smell and it just looks comforting, right? And so I can actually sit there and go, especially if I'm having a bad day, I can actually be like, oh, I miss that. And I'm like, what are you kidding? What are you kidding? But it never goes away. If you are addicted to something, the cravings will never fully go away. What you're doing is locking that thing up, that addiction up, putting it in the ground, wrapping it up, digging a hole, trying to bury it, but it's always gonna be there. It's how you react to those cravings or those thoughts when they come. Are you going to give in to that addiction and let it control you again? Or are you gonna be strong and be able to beat that addiction?
So it's like you're saying, it's basically a cold turkey you did,
Yes,
and like Danny did.
yes, I didn't
And
use any nicotine.
The people that I've spoke to along the way, sounds like that is the most successful ones that have done it cold turkey. It's hard, I mean, it's, and I've done it myself, cold
Yeah.
turkey.
Yeah.
But, this, nibbling down a little, dwindling down.
It definitely,
Not for me.
yeah, it takes much longer, and you always kind of have that idea,
That's
well, I
like
could have one
making up your
more.
mind, that's,
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like I relate the smoking addiction a lot to eating, right? Overeating or things like that. If you're on a diet and you're trying to cut back or not eat things that are bad for you, if you're dabbling with some chocolate, it's so
Mhm.
hard to stop.
Eat
For
more.
me, it's better not to have a taste of that
Right.
unless it's my cheat day or something. If I have a taste, I'm probably gonna end up eating more than one taste, right? So some people can. Some people can have one little one and not touch it again. But, with anything that you're addicted to, you're just playing with fire, right? So I do agree in the long run. I do think that people,
I mean, people I've talked
if they
to
can make their
along the
mind
way,
up, yeah.
You have to do it.
And you gotta make your mind up that that's what you're gonna do,
That's
right? If
the
you don't
most
make your mind
successful
up,
way I've heard.
yeah. And no one can make you quit. You have to want to quit yourself, right? It does have to be a desire. Your why you want to quit, I do want y'all to think about this. If you're thinking of quitting, why do you want to quit? Whenever you're trying to break a habit, your why has to be bigger than your issue or than your habit, all right? If it's not, you're not really going to quit. You have to either say, I want to do it for my health, I want to do it because I want to save money, I want to do it because my loved ones want me to quit, and I want to make them happy, and I want them to feel good. Ultimately, though, you have to have a reason why. Why do you want to quit? If you don't have a reason, you're most likely not going to be successful. All right. So, what are some ways to, if you smoke with your coffee in the morning, what are some ways maybe that you can change your habit?
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, one of the main things would be to say, I'm going to smoke that coffee before I light my first one,
Okay.
right? Just trying to change your habit that goes along with it,
Right.
right? If smoking in the car is a habit for you, you wouldn't want to put your cigarettes in the car with you if you're trying to quit. If you thought, well, I'm not completely quitting cold turkey, but I'm cutting back, but I'm not going to allow myself to smoke in the car anymore, you better put the cigarettes in the trunk.
I'm done
Right? And I know a lot of people that have done that, right? Clean out the ashtray or put candy or coins in the ashtray so you can't use it, things like that. So just trying to break your habits with in different ways like that. I do have one little thing. So when you talk about triggers,
How far down the road did you get with them in the trunk?
so here's just a couple
Next red
things
light.
here. Some like delaying your cigarette when you have a habit. Sometimes when people smoke in a car, and I hear this a lot, when people smoke in a car, they literally, like say you smoke to work, you light up at the same place pretty much all the time. That's how much of a habit it is. It's almost like triggers in your mind. I pass that McDonald's, I light up my first cigarette or second cigarette or whatever it is you're smoking, again, you know, I've had people tell me when they start filling out their smoking logs that, you know, they go out for lunch for a cigarette, they have one, and then they smoke another one real fast. Well, the first one, maybe their craving was an 8 or a 9. Second one was only a 2 or 3. They didn't even really need it. They weren't even craving it anymore, but it was a habit. They knew they were on break, so they had a second one, right?
Exactly.
So if you look at this here, this is 6 common triggers. Again, there could be many other triggers for you, but meals, no one said that, right? After a meal, a lot of times people want it. So one really good thing for meals, and you know, if you're thinking of quitting, a great thing to do is brush your teeth immediately after you eat. There's something about a fresh minty mouth that will help us delay having that cigarette. If you've just eaten, you want that cigarette right away, but if you go brush your teeth, you will find in a lot of cases that it might be 30 minutes to an hour before you'll have that big cigarette. There's something about the minty breath, right? Sometimes I'll just chew gum or whatever, but brushing your teeth makes such a big difference. Coffee, to avoid coffee-related cravings, try changing your routine. Have your morning cup of coffee a little later, switch to soda or water. I heard someone say switch what you're drinking, right? There's alcohol can be a trigger, stress can be a trigger. Driving is a trigger, so removing the cigarette, lighter, ashtray, we talked about that already. And I heard you mention a couple times other smokers, so I'm gonna read that one at the bottom. It said the areas outside of office buildings and restaurants where smokers congregate are like quicksand for people trying to quit. If you find yourself walking by a group of coworkers or friends who are merely puffing away, don't get sucked in. If possible, find a way to avoid them. Use another entrance, tweak your schedule, whatever you have to do. The same goes for parties and other social occasions. If people are smoking, move to another room. If your friends head outside for a cigarette, don't go with them. Pick up the conversations when they get back, right? You just, you know, if you had a friend that was addicted to a drug, right? I mean, heroin's huge right now. What would be one of the very first things you would tell that person to do? I would imagine. Don't, right? And don't hang around with people that do it.
Exactly. Right?
Stay away from people that have that addiction or doing that bad thing, that habit that you don't want to do. So that's the same with smoking. You know, until you feel like you've quit long enough that you can handle it, then it's best not to put yourself in that situation. If you have to be in that kind of a situation, right? You have to be somewhere, someone's gonna light up, but you have to happen to be there. Have tools with you. What are some tools? So we talked about brushing teeth.
Or
Gum.
candy, lollipops.
Candy, lollipops. There's this hand-mouth coordination thing that goes along with habit. Some people will chew on like coffee stirs. Even if they're long, cut them in half. Chew on a coffee stir. Great for riding in the car, right? Chewing on the coffee stir. Toothpicks. People will have toothpicks in their mouth. Some people use rubber bands. Put a rubber band around their wrist, and when the craving comes, they just snap that rubber band until they can figure out, all right, what can I do instead? Because I really don't want to go out and have that cigarette. And again, it's crazy, but it's just little things to disrupt your thought process. So rather than going and having the cigarette when the craving comes, snap that rubber band and be like, all right, what can I do? I need to go do something. Maybe I'll go for a walk. Maybe I'll go get busy doing something else, right? Get yourself busy. And again, they say it takes about 5 to 7 minutes for a craving to pass. So if you get yourself involved in something else, that craving will generally pass. Okay? So again, read through those, see if any of those match with you. And I think we're just about finished. The last thing we're going to talk about is journaling, because you'll earn points for your journaling, all right? So I handed out 2 different journaling pages. One says daily on it, or actually 4. I gave you 4 of them that say daily, because you get 2 points for every one you turn in. But one that you do need to do is the weekly as well. So make sure you turn in the weekend one. So I need everyone to at least turn in, it says Saturday and Sunday on our paper, but on your challenge flyer it says Friday. It doesn't matter to me. Fill it out for either tomorrow, Saturday, or Sunday, that one that says weekend on it, and turn that in. Anything that you're going to turn in after tonight, you're going to turn into the box, I guess, at the front desk. They're going to have a box that you can put them all in, and then Allegiant will collect them. All right, so they're not going to Gray and Son, they're coming to Allegiant. Anything that you complete fill out. It's going to be at the front desk, front office. Yeah, front office, there's supposed to be some kind of a box that you can turn them all in. There'll also be more of the daily logs will be there too, because the more you fill out, the more points you earn.
You said we gotta fill this out tonight?
No, the log you're gonna either do, the one that says weekend at the top, either do Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
It says May or May
Yeah, 6th or
6th
7th. And on this, it actually says fill out the Friday one, the Friday, May 5th one. So I don't really care if it's Friday, May 5th, 6th, or 7th, you're gonna do one of those dates. Okay, this weekend.
You gotta
So
put
it
the- you
just,
gotta
I
put
want
the
you to get
short
started
back
right
on
away with at least one log. So do that weekend log, try to turn that in on Monday. And then from then, you don't have to do a log every day, but ideally, when you journal, anything that you journal will help you to keep track. The other great thing about journaling is if you decide you want to quit or cut back, you can see where your habits are, and you can be like, oh, you know what, that will be my easiest one to cut out. When you're journaling, you're actually going to be putting numbers for how your craving level was on a scale of 1 to 10. So you're going to start with the 2s and 3s and start cutting them out first. Yes.
So this thing ain't for the class today, this is a whole.
It's not. You're going to get 50 points for coming to the class today. The challenge itself is where you can earn more points if you decide to do the challenge.
Try to quit this
How many
drinking.
points is that worth?
It adds, I think the total's another 50, I think. You may even get more than that. If you do 2 points every day, you did a daily log every day. I don't know if anyone can keep up with that every single day. But for everyone, you get 2 points. At the bottom of the challenge paper, it tells you your points that you can earn
Oh,
for each thing that you do. All right, so the more things you turn in, the more points you're gonna get. All right? But journaling, even if you're looking to save money, right, to buy something, you're looking to lose weight, exercise more, you're looking to diet, to eat better, when people that journal, when they're trying to reach a goal, are more successful. So you wanna make sure that you journal. It just, again, it helps you to see your patterns and helps you to keep you on track. It's very, very important. The 2 most important factors is about quitting is making the decision to quit is number 1. You're not gonna quit if you don't make the decision that that's what you wanna do, right? You 2 gentlemen, you happen to make the decision to quit that day, right? And that was what you did. Setting a quit date, that's really important, unless you happen to just wake up one morning like that and say, I'm done, right? That's great too. But having a quit date, some people will pick a birthday or a special occasion, or maybe the day they're going on vacation because they know that'll be totally new routine, and they think if they get out of routine, they can quit easier. So some people will do their vacation. But setting a quit date is really important, and then starting to prepare. If I set my quit date for 2 weeks from now, I'm gonna call my doctor, figure out which nicotine replacement therapy to have, and I'm gonna have it the night before my quit date. I'm gonna make sure I have it ready. If it's gonna be a patch, I wanna be able to put it on when I wake up in the morning on my quit date, right? Making sure you prepare for that. Cleaning out the ashtrays, getting everything out of the house, washing those clothes or getting your car detailed if you need to get the smell out of it. So thinking about all those little things you can do to prepare. And then next, prepare to quit, which is what I'm talking about. All those little things that you can do. Talking to people is key also. Making sure that you let people know that you're gonna quit. We talked about the cravings already and the triggers and figuring out how you're gonna handle it. And these are all some of the triggers that we talked about already. We have a list, the list of the most common that I handed out to you. But we want to make sure that you seek support. That's probably the last thing, is making sure you seek support. If you're going to plan to quit, tell people. Help find some people that are going to keep you accountable. Hey, this is going to be my quit date. Start checking on me on that quit date. Start asking me, how am I doing? Try to keep me accountable, right? Again, we need that for anything that we're trying to set a goal for. We should have people to be accountable to. If you don't have anyone in your life to be accountable to, the 1-800-Maryland Quit line is awesome. 24/7, you can call and talk to someone. Hey, I have decided to quit. I haven't smoked for 2 days, and I'm about to chew my fingers off. Talk me off the ledge. I'm about to I'm going to buy another pack. And they will be there 24/7. You can reach someone at this line. All right, so you can go ahead and use that Maryland Quit line. This is just another pamphlet about that quit line. Okay? Does anybody have any questions? Questions, comments? Have you learned anything today, maybe about your smoking habits? Have you ever not really thought about it? Or maybe today you're like, okay. I know I went through really quickly, but I want to let you guys get home at 6 o'clock. So read through the papers. We didn't have time to go through them all detail by detail, but read through the things I gave you. If you're not quite sure what your triggers are, look at that again. If you have any questions, my email is kharris@allegiant.com. I'm going to collect, I need the, yes, I do need your assessments, both of them. Done them. And make sure your name is on the why I quit